How's it going?
Is this your first? Oh no, you've done one with these
Yeah.
arms. Aren't they nice?
Yeah, they are.
You can get right nice and close.
Yeah.
Was gone for a while.
Voyaging,
Yeah.
or so they call it.
And you have a nice trip coming up too. You're going to where? Arizona?
Yeah. A little bit of Arizona, a little bit of Utah. I was just looking at the map. I think, our original plan was to head up to Zion. And I might change it a little bit. I don't know. Just winging it.
Yeah, well that's the best way to do it. Especially when you're in a camper van with just you and your honey and
Yeah, there's this 47-mile road, dirt road. It sounds like it's very passable though, but it's got minimal traffic on it, obviously, because it's a dirt road. And it's like a shortcut over to a spot that I kind of wanted to go, but the way to get to it was this really long loop. And so I don't know. We'll have to see. I haven't told Christina about it yet because I don't know how she's going to feel about 47 miles on a dirt road. But
I'm sure she'll be up for it.
dispersed camping the whole way. So, and my theory is, well, maybe we can turn around. Hopefully. I mean, worst case
I'm
scenario.
sure
I'm sure
you
there's
can.
got to be some place.
Well, in the desert, what's off the side of the road? More
Well,
sand?
it's kind of in the mountains a little
Is
bit.
it?
I mean, they're not big mountains, but they're mountains, So you get like 6,000 to 7,000 feet elevation. Nothing
You rent
crazy.
a camper van and you're gone for 1 week?
1 week, yeah.
Awesome.
1 full week. Get there early, like 10ish on a Wednesday and fly out late on a Tuesday. So
I'm jealous because you're going on a real vacation. The one
Yeah.
where you like relax and recharge and reconnect, and it's not the same as the vacations with the kids.
Right. Yeah, that's more of a trip. We
Yeah.
talk about that all the time. You come back and you're just as exhausted, if not more, than you were when you left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but-
hear that.
But
Fun
those
either
are,
way.
those are amazing too,
Yeah, yeah.
because we've been talking about that. I got to get the kids out to the ocean. They haven't been there for a while, and get their feet in some sand, and
Mhm.
but that'll be our next venture.
Yeah. Cool.
So I wanted to talk. We had a great first men's group, and it's been about a month, and we kind of talked about trying to do one at least once a month. It was kind of the goal. So I thought maybe today would be a good time to spitball some ideas and, talk about some of the things we did in the past. And
Yeah. I know the first session we did was the teepee,
Yeah.
and we exchanged some laughs in the teepee for sure. It was a sharing circle. It's pretty much all we did. It was really good. It was the first meetup. So a lot of the guys were meeting guys they have never met before. I guess the only thing I can think of as a theme for this second one is action, movement, and fun. Like
yeah,
something, not that the last one wasn't fun, but we just sat there and we weren't all serious, but we were sincere about it.
yeah,
And I think like if we incorporate something that's just like, just like back to the, being a little boy. What did little boys do when they got together? They had fun. They played.
yeah. That's a good idea. Maybe we should set up like a frisbee golf day or something like that.
Yeah.
And go to the frisbee golf course and, kind of commingle that with some deep discussions like we did on a hike, but mix in a little bit of frisbee golf with it.
Yeah, and anyone can frisbee golf, right? I mean, as long as your shoulder isn't shot. I guess.
That's fair.
So,
That was
yeah,
a good option.
I might
Yeah,
be
I like that.
throwing overhand.
Oh, your shoulder?
My
Yeah.
shoulder is screwed. Yeah, throwing right-handed. Then I'll really feel like a little boy or
Yeah.
a little girl.
You'll get a lot 'of laughs.
Yeah.
We talk about how laughter is, what did they say? They said something like a 6-year-old laughs like 600 times, or maybe it was a 4-year-old laughs like 600 times a day, and the average adult laughs like 20.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they say you got to get back to laughter. So, that would, sometimes it's good, I think, to force yourself into those situations, just make yourself do something stupid.
Have you heard about laughter yoga?
No.
So it's this, Mackie Idy told me about it, and it's this thing where, I mean, I don't think it's nothing official. You don't have to be trained or certified to do it or anything, but you just kind of, you just start by fake laughing, but everyone in the group does it. And you can go up to something like you could just do like chest bumps, and as soon as you bump your chest, you're like ha 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 ha. But then it starts off as fake laughter, but then the whole group gets going, and then it becomes real laughter, and it's supposed to be a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure, and I'm sure it's. I mean, you think about it. We're always so serious all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we just got so much to do, and you know, I know you and I have talked about this many times on how we're in such a fast-paced society. You know, you're always going from one thing to the next. Nobody takes time to relax.
Yeah, relax, laugh, have fun.
I mean, I feel like I'm getting better at it. I feel like, you know, we try to give ourselves opportunities to get a little bit better at it, but still laughter, that's, you know, something that you kind of have to set some time aside for that too.
Tom Kidd was a keynote speaker at that Laval Wellness Fair a couple months ago, and he's a really good motivational speaker, and he's from the Eau Claire area, and he's been doing a tour lately, giving talks on the benefits of laughter and doing podcasts on the benefits of laughter, and he agreed to come on this podcast and talk about the benefits of laughter. So
Cool.
yeah,
See, you know, this was just like a pre-podcast.
yeah.
What's his name?
Tom Kidd.
Tom Kidd.
Yeah.
Well, good. Then he can expand on laughter.
Yeah.
You know, I had John over the other day, and we were gonna have fire, so I went out and drug some logs out of the woods and started chopping them up. And he's like, "We should do a men's day out in the woods." And you know, John's a big outdoorsy guy, and you know, I started thinking it's good for, you know, we talk about the Madison group, men's group, and then we're trying to start this Reesburg men's group, and it's really kind of two totally different groups of people, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you got the Madison group, which are Madison, and Madison's not a small, I mean, it's not huge, but that's significantly larger than Reesburg.
And the Madison group is really diverse.
Yeah, and you know, and I think it'd be fun to kind of, you know, John's like, you know, bring them out here and let them run around in the woods and use a chainsaw and split some wood, and it got me thinking, you know, I think being from small town area, we kind of take some stuff like that for granted a little bit. You know, we have the opportunity to be out in nature and like be in the woods and, you know, do those things that, you know, we kind of grew up doing. But when you live in the city, you know, maybe you don't have those opportunities. And he brought, you know, I thought it was a great point that, you know, it'd be kind of fun to get some people out, you know, and same thing goes the other way. I mean, we're from small town, you know, it'd be nice to go into the city and do, you know, and that's why I think John, you know, it's getting each other out of our comfort zones, you know, and I think when you're in the city, getting into the woods and, you know, splitting wood and dragging logs out of the woods is out of your comfort zone, just like going into the city and, you know, having, you know, these coffee groups and stuff like that. That's kind of out of our comfort zone here in small town too. So I think I was trying to think that would be a fun one to do, but I'm trying to arrange that and make it.
You mean like a marriage of the two groups?
Yeah, you know, and I think that would be kind of nice to, you know, because I want to keep spending time in Madison, but I think it'd also be good, you know, because Zach's one of the first people that says that, you know, he doesn't get out in nature enough.
Yeah, that was his takeaway from our men's group that he came to. And Zach is the organizer of the Soul Tech men's group in Madison. But that was what he said after he left our men's group that day. He's, I don't know if he texted both of us, but he said it was really interesting to see the different dynamics and culture of the Reedsburg area versus Madison, and how much a lot of the discussion was about being in the woods.
Yeah.
And just being in nature. And he's like, that was that was an eye opener, because those were topics that were brought up that was really consistent that haven't really been brought up in the Madison group.
Yeah. So I think it would be, And I think we need to have some more discussions with Zach around that, and really trying to rein in his group and bring him up here and, coordinate something where, it's a group, maybe it's a half a day, maybe instead of just an hour or two, or maybe it's a full day, and we do lunch and, and you commingle it with some other sessions, but you do some outdoorsy stuff. And I love the hike, but more than just hiking, like,
What about archery, like a longbow?
oh, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, some target shooting.
That'd be good for me too.
I'd love that. I don't know, maybe a couple times, shot a longbow, but I think my first thought was shooting with archery is, well, a lot of those compound bows are set pretty heavy, guys
yeah,
practice it, and
yeah.
not everyone might be able to shoot a compound bow, and there's so much power behind the compound bow. But if just a longbow, just like, pull back as hard as you want to and shoot at some targets, that might be kind of fun. We could shoot some guns. I mean, that's the Reedsburg thing.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun too.
We could set up some axe throwing. We could do all kinds of things.
Yeah, it would be fun. So what about this next one? What are we gonna do?
I don't know. I think you just sparked me on. I think a men's frisbee golf
Yeah, okay.
day would be a good idea.
Like Half Moon Lagoon?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, that's an 18-hole course, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't take too long. That's what if we had a big group and slowed it down a little bit, it's still not going to take, I don't know, more than a little over an hour. Right?
Yeah, I love that idea, because when we did our first one at Devil's Lake, we did the hike, which is, a frisbee golf course is probably a similar time and distance as our Devil's Lake hike. So we could do the taking turns, getting to know the other guys that you don't know yet. And then we could also start with a sharing circle, do 18 holes of frisbee golf, and then end in a closing circle. And
yeah, let's do that.
all right. So
when are we going to do it?
Half Moon Lagoon. Well, we're due right now, so we got to plan it.
Yeah.
But it can't be like super last minute. So do we do like 1 or 2 weeks from today ish on a Monday night?
Yeah, it can't be.
Maybe 2 weeks.
It'll have to be 3. I won't be back. Or we could do like a Thursday night.
Oh, like the Thursday after you get back?
Yeah.
When do you get back?
Oh, I got school on Thursday.
I feel like the odd weeknights, like Friday nights, are no good.
Stick to Monday.
Weekends are busy. Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesdays are
It's
good.
like the 21st would be my next available.
Okay, so if we go to my calendar here, April 21st is a Monday. All right, let's do it.
What time?
April 21st. It gets dark at sunsets at 7:30.
Yeah.
So we could start at 6. Is that going to be enough time? 5:30.
5:36. 6 is probably better for everybody, right?
6 is probably better. Yeah, we
Yeah.
could start off like short and sweet. Do the
Yeah.
okay 6 o'clock,
6
April
o'clock.
21st.
April 21st.
I'm gonna put it in my calendars.
Cool.
So we don't forget. April 21, 6 p.m.
I'll type up a note and get it out. And do you have extra frisbee discs?
I do. Yeah. No, those are highly coveted items, that get lost really easy, and they're worth $20 a
I know.
piece.
I'll dig through and see what I got.
I
think
have some.
I think I have a handful of old ones too.
I have some old shitty ones that don't fly worth a crap, but so you're even more likely to get them lost. But
now's the time to do it though, because nothing's growing yet, so it's easy to see. So we'll be all right.
it gives some people some time to
Yeah.
go on Amazon and buy some. I doubt there's any local stores that sell them. Maybe there is.
I bet True Value has some.
Okay, yeah. So check out
Yeah.
Martin's True Value.
I'll put a couple notes out there, and I'm sure you can get them from Walmart too.
Yeah,
so.
say bring your own discs. If you don't
Yeah.
have any, there will be some extra available.
We have a couple extras.
A couple
hanging
extra
around.
old wobbly ones.
I think I
available.
have. I think I have a couple. I just gotta dig them out.
Okay.
But that'll be fun.
Yeah, and we're still not going to charge.
No, I think we'll just keep it for now until we offer something on top of it and just,
Oh, we're offering frisbee discs.
well, you have to put a deposit down if you.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I think we should, figure out something. Talk with Zach. Maybe we can send some messages back and forth with Zach about getting an outdoorsy day. I don't know.
Yeah, well, Devil's Lake's such an easy one.
It
because
is a
It's
really
between the
easy
two.
one.
It's not far from Reedsburg, so it's easy for both groups. Yeah, I mean, hikes are good. And then we could do Devil's Lake has some other amenities too. Like you don't have to hike, but you could I don't know. Just thinking like the pavilions there or something, or do a cookout. Maybe what about a cookout between the two groups at Devil's Lake?
Yeah.
It could start with a cookout and end with a hike or something.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
What about another one after that?
Well, I like John's idea going into your woods, and you have an amazing property there to explore. And
Yeah, I always just feel like I'm taking advantage of people by bringing them out and saying, "Hey, come check it out." And while you're here, let's cut some wood.
well,
But-
let's do it at my place then. I do have a lot of wood to split, but let's see what else is there. Outdoorsy, the archery thing would be fun.
Yeah.
I'd like to get Josh involved. He's really into archery, and
Yeah.
he has a lot of bows and arrows.
I do think we need to get our Reesburg group into some. See, I think that's the difference. Is the Reesburg group is a very grounded group, and I think the Madison group's a little more of the higher self group. And so I think it's important to get the Reesburg group doing things that help them get in touch with their higher self. You know what I mean?
And then the Madison group might need
Get in
some
touch
grounding.
with, a little more grounded,
Right.
and I think that's where the two groups can really complement each other. Like, I can almost guarantee that nobody at our men's group in Reesburg has ever sat through a sound bath. And I could be wrong, but I'm guessing if we polled, the majority of them have never sat through a sound bath. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But every single one of them's probably had a chainsaw in their hand at some point in their life,
Right.
and it's probably flipped for the Madison group. So I
Mhm.
think that's where, we could really play off each other's strengths and learn so much from each other.
What about a sound bath with chainsaws?
I don't know if those frequencies line up.
Makes me angry.
But it's true. I mean, you think about it, and I think that's just the different dynamics.
Yeah,
Of-
of the culture of the
Yeah.
areas where we
Yeah.
live.
And that's why it's so nice and refreshing for you and I to go over to Sun Prairie and hang out with those guys, because that's not something that we're immersed in on a regular basis, if at all. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas we're here, and it's not uncommon for us to be out in the woods on any given day, so
Mhm.
being grounded is kind of our base.
A byproduct of our lifestyle.
Yeah, it's just that's kind of our roots are grounded.
Mhm. And
I mean, everybody's roots are grounded, but ours particularly, we've never really stepped out of that initial.
yeah, it's been a part of our lives, and we don't even think about it. But so many
Right.
guys are into hunting and fishing, and they don't know that they're, or even talk about getting in touch with nature or grounding. But that's exactly what we're doing when we're out. In
And
the
we're
woods.
probably too grounded, and that's the thing, is we are over grounded here in our area, and in the Madison area, maybe they are lacking their grounding and they're too in touch with their higher selves, and and it's a good balance. You need to balance it,
Mhm.
and we've talked about that, where there's a balance and you have to balance it, otherwise you're going to be all out of whack. So
Mhm.
So I think that this could be an awesome thing. We just got to figure out the right way to do it, because it's going to be hard to get some some of the Madison people to partake in some of those cutting wood, splitting wood.
Well, and same like
And it's gonna be. Yeah, I mean, the guys in our group. It's gonna be hard to get some of them to sit through a sound bath,
right. I
or
was the only out of the 6 Reedsburg guys that had been experiencing the Sun Prairie men's group. I was the only one that signed up for the sound bath
so
in Sun Prairie.
I so wanted to go to that, but I had school.
I had, but if it was the first one I had ever done, I don't know if I would have went, because the first time I heard the word sound bath, I'm like, what is that? That sounds.
It does sound.
That's like my first thought. You know?
It's just
that,
not.
That sounds lame. That sounds girly. That doesn't sound like something that would, man, like poo poo the idea.
Yeah.
But then I did one and I was like, whoa, there's something to that. It was so relaxing. And apparently you're not supposed to do sound bath if you're pregnant.
Really?
Yeah. Not that the men's group needs to worry about
No.
that, but I had an applicant today talk about how she couldn't do sound bath because she just found out she's pregnant.
Oh.
Like, wow, those frequencies I mean, the fetus must be so sensitive that for whatever reason the sound bath practitioner told her, no, don't,
Huh.
you can't do it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I've only sat through one sound bath and it was amazing and I loved it, and I'll do another one, and I'll do it many a times because and I even told Christina, I said I want to get my own sound bowls because it resonated with me literally and figuratively. It was just it's hard to explain. It's just something you have to experience, and part of this journey that you and I and our significant others have been going down have let us down some of these things, and we've grown. But yeah, the sound bath was amazing, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. And I'm even my father, who I'm signing. I'm scheduling one for my mom and him, and maybe I'm gonna sneak in on it too, just to partake at their new house. Cause
cool.
it's because it's amazing, and it's good for anybody, because it's really truly good for your soul and your body, and so
You should tell your parents about the dinner on Saturday. They might be interested because there's these open slots available. The chef is preparing for dinner for 20.
Oh,
So you could drop that in there. Here, I have the menu. I can send it to you. It's pretty awesome. Did I read it to you?
no.
Well, it's a different topic. I'll
Yeah.
tell you later. There's another thing I just thought of that it left my mind about the men's group. Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah.
Something about the combination of the two groups.
But
breathwork. I think breathwork would be great for the Reedsburg group because it's just breath. It's
Mhm.
like breath is like a bipartisan issue if it was politically related. Like breath is something that everyone has.
Yeah.
Breath it can induce this DMT release in your brain, which is equivalent to a psychedelic, but there's no substance that's being consumed. It is just the way you're breathing. And so I feel like that's an easy one. You just you say sound bath to somebody, they might hesitate. But breath work, everyone breathes. No one's going to think that that's dumb. And that is a very uplifting thing. That is like, I know there was a point where I was doing all these like intense long meditations and these breath works that were like really, and I got to a point, and I know Christina's been there too, where like kind of up in the clouds a little too much and really energized, but kind of like, okay, come back down. Like,
Yeah.
there's that balance that needs to be checked. So that
Yeah.
I feel like with the grounded Reedsburg group, little breath work would be eye opening.
But that makes sense. I mean, if you look at those two groups and you've experienced both of them, there's the Madison group seems to be a little more on that side of the spectrum, and the Reesburg group is obviously way more on the grounded side. And I'm not saying that the whole Madison group is
but generally, if you compare the averages,
because I know, and that's part of just living in the city. You don't have as much access to, you have access to parks and stuff like that, but it's different going to a park, riding bike on a trail, I'm not saying that's not getting in nature. That 100% is, but it's different than
A maintained trail that a lot of people take is way different than walking through the woods on no trail.
and coming out with scrapes on your arms, and and that's really truly getting in touch with nature when nature's biting back a little bit and leaving a little bit on you and in you and all that. You're really truly grounding when you're coming out of there.
I just had an idea. This chef Gorman that I just recently met, he has a friend who is like an expert forager. And I know you guys know an expert forager. So does my friend Doug. That would be a cool men's group. And you'd have to time it at the time of the year where the forager knows, okay, there's a lot of opportunity here. And what we can forage for at your place is different than at my place, and is going to be different than White Mountain County Park. But that would be cool. That would be really cool for both groups too. Like organizing, we'd have to find someone to lead.
Yeah,
I'm not an expert forager. We could talk about morels and maybe that's about it. But
the morels, though, man, that's a small window.
Yeah, that it would have to be something other than that. You could do it around morel season to maybe also find morels. So that would be early May. Ooh, maybe that's
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be bad.
Mid-May.
But I know in the fall's a great time for like oyster mushrooms.
Yep.
And I have a ton of them out at our property, and there would be there's nothing better than going out there and cutting fresh mushrooms and frying them up in butter. And
chicken of the woods.
Oh yeah, yes, it's the best. And most people haven't ever really partaked in fresh, organic, wild mushrooms.
Have you ever had lion's mane?
Yeah.
It is like a lobster. You dip it in butter. Oh my God. It's snappy and kind of chewy like lobster. It is nature's lobster.
We were with the Warners on a trip up in Door County once, and we were on a bike ride, and we're going and we're biking and we're on these trails out in the woods, and I slammed on the brakes and I was like, that's lion's mane. And they're like, no way. And I went over, and maybe I'm getting myself in trouble by saying this, but
I stole someone's mushroom.
No, it was it. We were on a trail, they were nobody's mushrooms, and they were just gonna. This was my inner dialogue.
It's gonna go bad.
It's gonna go bad in a day or two. So I sliced it like I'm told, leave a little bit at the bottom. I didn't pull it out. I did it the way, took it home, and John and Rachel were like, are you sure we can eat these? And I'm like, yeah, and you're going to love them. And we made steak that night, and I made those mushrooms, fried them in butter, and we had some sauteed onions. And to this day, randomly, they'll be like, do you remember those mushrooms from when we were in Door County? Those were the best mushrooms I've ever had. And I'm like, yeah, they were the best, probably the best mushrooms I've ever had.
My mouth is watering right now.
I love a good mushroom, but there's nothing better than a fresh organic. I should show you the picture one day. Last fall, I pulled a chicken of the woods that was.
I saw a picture of that.
Oh, it was so big. I still got some in the freezer.
Really? You froze them?
Yeah, I froze them. It was so big. I was like, it was another one of those things where I'm like, what? This thing's just gonna go to waste. So I chopped it, and it probably weighed 10 pounds.
I didn't know you could freeze mushrooms.
Yeah, you can either cook them first and freeze them, or you freeze them raw and then you cook them. I don't know. I haven't had them in a while. They've been sitting in the freezer all winter, so I don't know if they're.
Well, now that you just reminded yourself of them, you should make them.
I should try them out. I don't know what we're having for dinner tonight, but maybe I'll pull some out and we'll fry them up.
Good. We got it figured out. April 21st, 6 p.m. Frisbee Golf at Half Moon Lagoon in Reedsburg.
All right. I will get a message out tonight. I will compile that and send it out to the group tonight, and hopefully we can have another successful event.
All right, brother.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Good to see you.
Yeah.